Welcome back. This is an Aleks study video on identifying, oxidizing, and reducing agents. Remember, if something is reduced, it drops in charge, and it's reduced when I'm reduced when I steal an electron and make my charge lower. If I steal an electron, I can't steal an electron unless someone allows me to steal it from them. So you can't be reduced unless you have a reducing agent. What allowed you to steal the electron? Well, the species that lost the electron allowed you to do it. So as you gained it and you gained the electron and became reduced, whoever you stole it from became oxidized and its charge went up. So if you are reduced, whoever you stole it from is the reducing agent. Whoever you stole it from is also being oxidized. It's the reducing agent because he allowed you to be reduced, but he's also being oxidized. Whatever you stole it from is being oxidized. That way you are the oxidizing agent of whatever gained in charge. So it's like if I throw you the ball and you catch the ball, the pitcher, if the ball is the negative, the pitcher is the reducing agent. Okay, because I gave you the ball and I reduced you. So the pitcher is the reducing agent. The catcher is the oxidizing agent because he got the ball away from the pitcher and made his charge go up, made the pitcher's charge go up. Then the ball is negative. So in order to know which one is oxidized and which one's reduced, I have to use the oxidation numbers that we've already learned. Okay, so let's look first at the iron. We've got iron and copper sulfate gives you iron sulfate and copper. Okay, so I know already that this is going to be 0 because it's just iron by itself. I know that this is 0 because it's just copper by itself. I like this one. I know that oxygen is O2, so it's by itself. And I know that sulfur is by itself. So anything that's going to be just one element only is going to have an oxidation number of 0. Everything else I'm going to have to figure it out. So let's look at what happens to the iron here, because I can make a guess. If this one goes up to a higher number than 0, then the copper must have gone down. So I can sometimes make a guess. Let's look at the iron. The iron sulfate is -2. Sulfate's -2. If sulfate's -2, then this balances with -2. That makes that this is +2. Okay. Well, I can already answer some questions. Is it a redox reaction? Is there a stealing of charges, of electrons? Yes, because this one was 0 and then it went up, so it must have had 2 electrons stolen from it. Okay, so yes, this is a redox reaction. So I know that iron is oxidized. Okay, so oxidized is the iron. What is reduced? Okay, let's see. You've got sulfate and sulfate, so it's not the sulfate, it must be the copper. So let's look at it. We have copper. Sulfate is -2, so this copper must be copper 2, so that's +2. And it's here, it's 0, so this is going down. The copper is being reduced. Okay. Now, the agent is the other guy. It's not the one getting reduced, it's the other guy that reduces it. All right, so this is saying reducing agent. Which got reduced? The copper got reduced. So therefore, what's the agent that made the copper reduced? Okay, whatever the agent that made the copper reduced is the other guy, and so it's the iron. The iron was oxidized. What is the agent that made the iron oxidized? The copper. The copper stole the electrons and made the iron to be oxidized. So this is copper. Okay, so far so good. Now let's see here. Let's do sulfur here because I already know sulfur is 0. Sulfur, this is, don't look at the coefficient, we're just looking at the H2S, the dihydrogen sulfate, or sulfide. We've got hydrogen is positive 2, and so this one has to be negative 2. Okay, so this went from negative 2 up to 0. Okay, so this is oxidized. Oxidized will be the sulfur. What went down? Okay, it's probably the oxygen. Okay, let's see what it is. So it's 0 here. Hydrogen is positive 1. Remember, I'm not looking at this 2. Positive 1. So this is positive 2 on this side. This is negative 2 on this side. So maybe I should say oxidized rather than oxygen. So oxidized is a sulfur. Okay, reduced is what? Well, the oxygen went from 0 to negative 2, so the oxygen is reduced. Okay. Is it a redox reaction? Yes, it is, because one stole an electron from another. Actually stole 2. So which one is reduced? The oxygen is reduced, so what's the reducing agent? The other guy is the reducing agent. He's the one who made the oxygen lower by giving up its electrons to make it lower. So the sulfur is the reducing agent. Okay. Now, in this case, it's the whole thing as the agent. So like here, I make a goof here. The iron is fine because the iron is by itself, but the oxidizing agent wasn't just the copper, it was this whole thing. This whole thing allowed it to happen. So this should be copper sulfate. And likewise, what is the reducing agent? The oxygen was reduced. What's the reducing agent? The whole thing with the sulfur in it. So this whole thing is what was the reducing agent. So this is a reactant or a reagent. So that's where the word agent comes from. This is what causes it to happen. So this is going to be H2S. Okay. And then what is the oxidizing agent? Well, sulfur was oxidized. Okay. Sulfur went from negative 2 to 0. What caused it to be oxidized? Well, the oxygen did. But where's the oxygen? The oxygen's by itself. These agents are going to be in the reagents, in the reactants. So this is going to be O2. Okay. What about this guy? Cl, this is 1 and negative 1. Cl, ammonium is plus 1, so this is negative 1. So chlorine didn't do anything. Let's look at nitrogen. This is positive 3. So this has to be negative 3. Okay, what about here? I know that this is negative 1. 4 H's is positive 4. So what's this? 4 minus 1 is positive 3, so this is negative 3. No, nothing happened. Nothing went up, nothing went down. Everything is the same, so it's not a redox reaction, so there's no reducing agent, no oxidizing agent. Okay, thanks.